Western Ghats in Karnataka and environmental significance. Before we discuss Western Ghats, let us take a look at the overall environmental situation in Karnataka. As is well known, the environmental preservation is a global issue. Survival of life on Earth depends on the availability of the natural resources. The use of these resources has an impact on the environment around us. Water usage leads to pollution. Coal, oil, minerals and metals are being depleted by increasing usage. A high-level irrigation, unless accompanied by a proper drainage, makes the soil saline or waterlogged. Combustion of fuel results in a greater accumulation of carbon dioxide, leading to global warming. This use and depletion of resources has an impact on our environment. In Karnataka, about 60% of the land area in the state has undergone one or the other type of agriculture. This is above the national average of 51%. A portion of this land is marginal for agriculture and requires a higher inputs but gives a lower yields. As subsistence farming is economically non-viable, this land is soon degraded and the soil is eroded. Land that cannot support agriculture could well be suitable for forestry and pasture. Irrigated land has been rendered saline or waterlogged due to water use. Thus, in the Upper Krishna project, about 71,000 hectares has become either saline or alkaline. In the command area of the Tungabhadra reservoir, about 33,000 hectares are either saline or waterlogged. Similarly, 24,455 hectares in Malaprabha and Ghataprabha command area are saline. Remedial measures are being undertaken in some areas at a very high cost. Pasture lands in the states have been steadily decreasing. During 1956 to 1983, pastures have been estimated to come down by 31%, while animal units increased by 30%. Overgrazing, therefore, is bound to follow, together with the compacting of the land cattle paths. As a result of the expansion of the agriculture and its allied activities, the natural vegetation in the plains has suffered the most. In fact, the characteristic vegetation of this habitat, namely the scrub forest, has almost vanished. The wildlife too has practically been wiped out in this tract except in isolated pockets. Similarly, in the Western Ghats, the fragmentation of natural vegetation has already reached an alarming proportions, and this will have a serious consequences on the rate of extinction of species. The wildlife has been decimated in many parts of the state, and its numbers are rapidly dwindling due to loss of habitat and constant fragmentation and illegal killing. The forest areas in the Western Ghats are being converted into plantations of cardamom, cocoa, rubber, coffee and tea. Simultaneously, timber and fuel wood species are replacing the rich tropical forests. These plantations, while being commercially remunerative, can cause a great harm to the biodiversity and the habitat of the flora and fauna. Vast forest areas have been submerged by hydel projects on the west-flowing rivers in Karnataka. Resettlement of the people displaced by the development projects has further reduced the forest area by honeycombing the forest with human settlement. Silting is the most serious problems with tanks and reservoirs. The capacity of the tanks goes on decreasing every year. The tank irrigation has become less and less. Land ultimately becomes altogether useless for irrigation when the sluices can no longer be opened. The solution proposed for the silting problem was afforestation of the catchment area to the extent possible, same time banning cultivation in the foreshore lands and the construction of small check dams upstreams to trap the silt. The exploitation of the renewable and non-renewable natural resources is likely to have an environmental impact. Increased production of minerals will vary with the location, method, and magnitude of operations. Areas surrounding the mines also will be affected by the works as well as the workers. So the extent and the mode of mining must be regulated by ecological considerations for the long-term utilization of the resources. Pollution is the introduction of extraneous materials into the environment adversely affecting its normal use. Water pollution has been caused mainly by discharge of waste waters into the natural water courses and water bodies. Water is being polluted by industries and human habitations. Industrial effluents can cause organic, chemical, and even hazardous pollution. In order to control this pollution, efficient standards have been prescribed industry-wise. Thermal pollution caused by water with temperature above the ambient water temperature is also controlled. The Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act was enacted by Parliament on 23rd March 1974. The greatest water pollution in the state has been caused by urban agglomerations. It is obligatory on the authorities now to treat the sewage before discharging it. However, only 139 of the 172 municipalities, that is, more than two-thirds of the municipalities, do not have functional underground drainage or sewage treatment plants. Western Ghats in Karnataka and environmental significance. Western Ghats occupies an unique position in Karnataka, and in fact it has become UNESCO World Heritage Site and is one of the 8 hottest hotspots of the biological diversity in the entire world. The Nilgiri biosphere is home to the largest population of the Asian elephants and forms an important Project Elephant and Project Tiger Reserve. Brahmagiri and Pushpagiri wildlife sanctuaries are important elephant habitats. Karnataka's Ghat areas hold over 6,000 elephants, that was as per the 2004 census, and 10% of India's critically endangered tiger population. The largest population of India's tigers outside Sundarbans is in unbroken forests bordering Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The largest numbers and the herds of vulnerable gaur are found here with the Bandipur National Park and Nagarhole together, holding over 5,000 gaurs. To the west, the forests of Kodagu hold a sizable population of the endangered Nilgiri langur. Bhadra Wildlife Sanctuary and Project Tiger Reserves in Chikmagalur has large populations of Indian muntjac. Many Asian elephant, gaur, sambar, vulnerable sloth bears, leopard, tiger and wild boars dwell in the forest of Kerala and Karnataka. Bannerghatta National Park and Anekal Reserve Forest is an important elephant corridor connecting the forests of Tamil Nadu with those of Karnataka. Dandeli and Anshi National Parks in Uttar Kannada districts are home to the black panther and normal variety of leopards and significant populations of great Indian hornbill. Bhimagad in Belagavi district is proposed now for wildlife sanctuary and is home to endemic critically endangered Rafton's free-tailed bat. The Krishnapura caves close by are one of the only 3 places in the country where the little known Theobald's tomb bat is found. Large lesser false vampire bats are also found in the Talewadi caves. As regards reptiles, the snake family of the reptile class is almost entirely restricted in this region. Amphibians. Amphibians of the Western Ghats are diverse and unique, with more than 80% of the 179 amphibian species being endemic to the region. Most of the endemic species have their distribution in the rainforest of these mountains. The endangered purple frog was discovered in 2003 to be a living fossil. This species of frog is most closely related to the species found in the Seychelles. Fish. 102 species of fish are listed in the Western Ghats water bodies. Western Ghats streams are home to several brilliantly colored ornamental fishes like red-lined torpedo barb, red-tailed barb, catfish, freshwater pufferfish, etc. Birds. There are at least more than 500 bird species in Western Ghats. Most of the Karnataka's 500 species of the birds are from Western Ghats region. The Bhadra Wildlife Sanctuary is located at the northern end of the Malabar Ranges and the southern tip of Sahyadri Ranges, and the bird species from both ranges can be seen here. Insects. There are roughly 6,000 insect species from Kerala alone. Of 334 butterfly species recorded from the Western Ghats, 316 species have been reported from the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. India applied to the UNESCO for the Western Ghats to be listed as a protected World Heritage Site. It has been recognized so. This is composed of 7 adjoining areas. The areas within the state of Karnataka are Talakaveri subcluster with 6 site elements. All site elements in Talakaveri region are situated in Karnataka state except the Arlam Reserved Forest in Kerala state. Pushpagiri Wildlife Sanctuary has dense evergreen and semi-evergreen vegetation with grassland in the areas of higher elevation. The steep terrain of the sanctuary has resulted in scenic waterfalls along its mountain streams. Altitude varies from 160 meters to 1700 meters. The highest point being the Pushpagiri peak in the north of the park. Temperatures ranges from 10 to 38 degrees with annual rainfall exceeding 6,500 millimeters. Brahmagiri Wildlife Sanctuary, which is around 182 square kilometer, also consists of evergreen and semi-evergreen forest in the lower lying areas with grassland habitat in the higher altitudes. The eastern tip of the sanctuary is adjacent to the northwestern boundary of Rajiv Gandhi, that is Nagarhole National Park, separated by a narrow strip of coffee plantations. The highest point in the sanctuary is the Brahmagiri peak on the southeastern boundary, while elevation varies between 65 meters to 1600 meters. Temperatures range from 5 degrees to 32 degrees, and the mean annual rainfall varies from 2,500 millimeters to 6,000 millimeters. Talakaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, which is around is located in Kodagu district of Karnataka. Its forests are predominated by tropical evergreen forest. It is named after Talakaveri, the origin of the Kaveri river, which lies on the eastern edge of the sanctuary. The altitude is from 64 to 1700 meters and temperatures range from 10 degrees to 35 degrees centigrade. Annual rainfall is about 6,500 millimeters. The areas between Talakaveri and Pushpagiri sanctuaries have been excluded from the proposed area mainly due to the fragmentation and habitat degradation caused by the Mangaluru-Madikeri road. Western Ghats Kudremukh subcluster. with 5 site elements. The Kudremukh National Park, Someshwara Wildlife Sanctuary and surrounding reserved forests of Someshwar, Agumbe and Balahalli of Karnataka state are situated centrally in the Western Ghats biodiversity hotspot. Kudremukh National Park has one of the most beautiful landscapes in the Western Ghats. It encompasses evergreen, semi-evergreen and grassland habitat. It is characteristic of a high altitude Western Ghats regions. Altitude varies from 120 to nearly 2000 meters, and the highest point is the Kudremukh Peak in the south of the park. The park has an average temperature ranging between 17 degrees to 28 degrees. Annual rainfall varies from 778 millimeters to 6,350 meters, and the average rainfall is around 4,000 millimeters. In fact, it recorded a maximum rainfall of 10,000 millimeters in 1994. The topography is mountainous, with a central ridge running north-south through the park. The park is dotted with crystal clear streams and picturesque waterfalls. Kudremukh National Park is flanked by coffee and tea estates in the north and east, whereas on the west, the land drops down to the Arabian Sea. In the northwest is a forest corridor that connects the park with Someshwara Wildlife Sanctuary. The sanctuary, named after the famous Someshwara temple, is located within it, and the adjoining 105 square kilometers of reserved forest are predominantly evergreen forest. It also has a semi-evergreen vegetation. These reserved forests are in the process of being included within the sanctuary. Elevation of the Kudremukh subcluster ranges from 75 to 870 meters, and the temperature varies between 20 degrees to 30 degrees. And the average annual fall is around 6,000 millimeters.